Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, wherever you're listening from, thank you very much for tuning in again to episode number 11 of the Frying Pan podcast. You join us at a slightly, how can I say it, punctuated start to our podcast, and ironically punctuated start to our podcast, given the theme of today's podcast, which will be the Spanish language. And basically, we aim to start at our usual 2:30 time, but due to my, I think, want for knowledge of more technical terms in Spanish, it was impossible to put the cleaners off for half an hour and instead hastened their arrival by half an hour. So we join you at a slightly later time for us than is normal, but it's good to have you aboard. So I'm joined, as always, by fellow writer and friend of mine, Rowan Kane. Rowan, how are you doing there?
I'm a little concerned, Lou. I'm a little concerned because I have absolutely no memory of what I had for lunch today. It has completely slipped my mind what I ate, where I ate. I sat down for dinner today and thought to myself, this seems like something I've had recently. And it is something I had recently. It's something I had for dinner last night. But I might have also had it for lunch, or I might not have had it for lunch. I really don't remember. So I'm at a loss for words.
It's very interesting, actually, because I was actually talking about that this weekend. That also, my brains have started sort of becoming mush, which I'm not sure exactly why. I always used to be quite sharp, but it seems like of late I'm definitely getting stupider, or just sort of losing very basic and crucial memories from like recent events, if you know what I mean. And I put this to my mother, who said it might be because I don't speak English as much anymore. Which it would be an interesting point to touch upon here in this podcast, as we're
Interesting parallel. I'm not sure how that works. It might be two parts or part of the same brain. I don't know. I trust your mother on this. So yes, it is because you're not speaking enough English.
It could be. It could be.
So we're talking about your language this week, correct? We're talking about, well, not your language, but your adopted language, Spanish.
Or my attempted adopted language, Spanish. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when let's just rewind really quickly to what just happened there. When you were speaking to the cleaning ladies, what actually happened?
Well, I tried to explain that the cleaning needed to be done in half an hour, giving us time to record the podcast. And I know most of the sort of basic terminology for how to organize this problem. However, clearly what I managed to do was to hasten the arrival of the cleaning by half an hour rather than have it done in half an hour. This, I believe, was one due to a wrong preposition somewhere in there, and also the gerund of the verb to cleaning, was clearly wrongly placed as well. But it was very nice. I got introduced to Packy and Carmen, who Packy is a name here. It's not the racial slur that it is in everywhere else in the world. I should. It's with a Q and with an I after it. So I think there's a U in there as well. So it doesn't bear any resemblance to the sort of EDL themed racial slur of the same phonic in other countries. Anyway, Packy, who is Spanish, and Carmen came in and did the cleaning, which was very good of them because the classroom is disgusting. And we talked away a little bit about all things Spanish, and I deduced that Packy's daughter is a very, very attractive girl in this town.
Renowned for her beauty.
Well, I mean, I don't talk about it a lot with other Spanish people, but I would say yeah, if I had to hazard a guess.
So this drives at my first question, which is went to Spain with zero knowledge of the Spanish language, correct?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously, I knew how to say yes and no, and everything that the Simpsons, the Bumblebee Man and the Simpsons sort of did. But that was really about it. Yeah.
Okay, and how far have you come since then? What is your knowledge? Obviously, it's not as fluent as we'd like, as
No.
this cleaning lady anecdote pretty well articulates. But how would you aptly demonstrates. How would you rate your Spanish language skills?
In comparison to everyone else's English skills, I would say it's pretty fucking good, actually. However, there is still several sort of layers missing, if that kind of makes sense. I find myself, I'm almost able to understand everything people say except what the town drunks say, because that is not a language. The Spanish in this particular town is divided between the younger generation and the town drunks. The town drunks do not speak Spanish; they speak another. The same as many drunks in many countries speak a kind of Creole of a pastiche, one would say, of their own original language that is broken down to its most basic elements, and vowels, prepositions, connecting clauses are replaced with grunts or facial expressions. Anyway, this is what they do. So them, I don't understand a fucking thing. Nothing. I mean, like 0 words. Everyone else, I understand very well. However, the cognitive capacity it takes to follow a conversation at the lightning speed that Spanish people speak results in, it's quite hard to kind of keep up with the conversational part of it.
Yeah. Well, as long as the old drunken men are still giving you fruit, I think that's really what matters. That's what really matters, right?
That's what they're for.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said that what how different is it from the Spanish that's spoken in Madrid? Can you tell the difference? Give us a little bit about the regional dialect there.
Yeah, no problem. Rowan, do you want to go in with that question again? Just because I totally lost you for the start of it.
Okay, sure. I lost you for a minute there too. So we're not going to go into the origins or the patterns of Spanish, because I think most people know it. Like we had to do with Indonesian last week. But what is the kind of Indonesian that's spoken in Andalusia? Is it close to what's spoken in Madrid? Is it what's the kind of dialect that's spoken? Could you call it a dialect, or is it just an accent?
I think it is strictly speaking an accent. They're very quick to say that obviously Spain has 4 or 5 official languages, and it's all a bit controversial because some of these people not only hate the Spanish kind of state, but also are actively, have acts of demonstrable violence against it, such as ETA. And at the moment, the Catalans are trying to go as well. And they have their own language, which is actually quite different from standard Spanish. People in Andalusia are very quick to say, like, we speak Spanish, which is Castilian Spanish. However, if you go to Castile, they think that the people down here do not speak anything close to Castilian Spanish, and I'd probably be inclined to agree with them. The best analogy I can give to the Anglophone listener is, if you imagine going to a country and learning the language, but learning it in a very regional place. So, for example, moving to Britain and learning all of your English in Dundee, for example, or moving to America and learning all of your English in Alabama without having spoken any English before, results in, it's like a very, very strong accent. And Andalusia, of all of the Spanish-speaking parts of Spain, has, like, by far the strongest accent in all of the peninsula.
And can you yourself differentiate between the accents already, or is that not something you've kind of caught on with yet?
I can very much differentiate from the accent here and the accent up north.
Okay.
The accent up north is it's very, very different, and it sounds like they're speaking another language. It is actually incredibly different, in the same way that maybe someone from Glasgow and somebody from Brighton are going to have speak effectively English, but have it the different ways. It always comes from this bit of like the capital city always kind of looks down on all the other parts. So when Andalusians go to Madrid, Madrileños, or people from Madrid sort of claim that they cannot be understood, they can't understand the Andalusians, much in the same way as like the kind of Scottish day tourist to London. And this sort of thing. The Scottish Jakey in London is effectively speaking English, but in a way that is unintelligible for a snooty Londoner, for example. However, when people from the north come here, they are understood completely fine. There is no problem.
Okay. And how are you dealing with the speed? Because Spanish is, you mentioned it, Spanish is spoken at a pretty rapid pace. Mm-hmm. Are you able to articulate yourself in a decent speed? I know comprehension is always difficult when you're trying to pick stuff up. But yeah, how are you dealing with the speed?
The speed is, I think sometimes depending on the company I'm with, like they'll speak to me as one would speak to a child or somebody with learning difficulties, for example. Which is very good of them because when they go full out kind of machine gun like, it is very difficult to follow. And I can respond in like not bad time. And if I'm a bit steaming, I'm totally on the ball. I can fire it out like machine gun style. Not totally steaming, maybe between like sort of the 3 to 6 beer mark.
3 to 6 little beers, 3 to 6 small beers, 3 to 6 pints.
I buy the British style can here just because the small ones are very small and you go through them too quickly. I usually buy the kind of near the 500 milliliter. It reminds me of home.
Yeah, I think I'm fluent in Spanish after a few beers, so I think that's a universal thing. I'm definitely fluent in French after a couple glasses of wine. So yeah,
I think a lot of the whole language thing, a lot of it is about having the balls to just have a go, and fundamentally like situations in life, like life's in general, pretty drab, and situations are never that complicated. There's never going to be like some fucking nut situation that I'm going to have to explain with, like an asteroid is going to hit this town and we need to evacuate the place. It's, that shit doesn't happen. What does happen is I need to buy like lettuce, or I need to fucking get some more beer, or I need to pick up some cigarettes or something. So it's like it's not a big deal. And then, after a few drinks, it's really starts to flow. But then on the other hand, after the kind of blackout zone, then it really stops, if that makes sense there.
Yeah, well, that does make complete sense. So would you say that because you're in a town where no one speaks English, that has facilitated your learning of the Spanish language? Has it helped that you can only speak Spanish to other people there? I mean, this is an obvious question, or an obvious answer, but how much has it helped for you to live in a place where no one else speaks English?
Oh, totally. Like, I mean, it's the defining factor of this whole experience is the fact that I speak way less English than I do Spanish, which may or may not be contributing to my like mental sort of breakdown. No, breakdown's the wrong word. Coming apart of my brain. Anyway, it's quite easy in the cities to not speak any Spanish. Spain's quite a popular destination for Anglophones. You can hang out in Irish bars and join like a British football team or whatever, and it's you don't really have to even bother speaking Spanish if you live in Seville. And indeed, some of my colleagues who have been here for quite a while, they actually don't really speak any Spanish, despite the fact that they have been here for many years. And it's just they live in cities, and it's you don't have to do so much.
How's Colum's Spanish?
Oh, his is brilliant.
Oh yeah,
His is brilliant. Well, he did sort of study it on his own a bit. He benefits a lot from kind of living with a girlfriend who is Spanish and speaks both Spanish and English fluently. That would be. I think that's actually kind of where I got, because I really took off when I came here. I was within a month like absolutely brilliant for a month of Spanish, and then I kind of plateaued once it got to a certain point. Where I couldn't really be bothered anymore, like kind of going the next level and learning about other things. However, I think if I was getting my whole, like regularly shagging like a very attractive Spanish lady, then that would be the impetus that I need to go to that next level. Yeah.
Yeah, to bump it up a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I have a grammar book, and sometimes if I have an hour free, I try to study the grammar book, but like an hour of studying grammar on your own would sort of pales into insignificance to an hour. Well, I do myself credit there, but an hour of kind of debauchery, shagging, whatever.
I think, yeah. A lot of credit to us all if or disservice to the rest of us if you're saying you go for an hour.
I mean, we can say like an hour spread over 3.5 weeks. If that's probably a bit more. Right. That's about right. But yeah, fundamentally, like the kind of intensive course of Spanish, the best way to do it would be to have a Spanish girlfriend, I think, and then you're fucking made.
Right, but then I think you just hear like see a lot, or adios mio, or something like that, something along those lines. I feel like it'd be very repetitive.
Then again, you could look into the present perfect, like have you finished already? That's two. Or did it happen again? Past simple. So I mean, you're looking at quite a variance of linguistic barriers actually in the world of the world of romance. Anyway,
how do you say is that it?
I think you'd probably say ya está, which is like that's it. And if you made an inflection at the end, like ya está, it would be like, is that it? I think that would be that would. And the response would be like, sí, ya está.
Sí, lo siento.
Lo siento, una otra vez, again. But that would be the way to do it, I think.
So along similar lines to that, what have people been? Are people impressed that a Anglo-Saxon fellow such as yourself has picked up the Spanish language and is somewhat fluent, or there enough? Is it like not that strange of a thing for a English or a British person to be fluent?
Yeah, I mean, I guess around here, like most of the Brits they see are the kind of holidaying Brits who really don't speak any Spanish, and I think it's at least funny for the residents of this town because I do have quite a strong accent in Spanish because I didn't speak any beforehand. I don't really know, so it is like going meeting your friend and your friend speaks English in New York but with a very strong Alabama like drawl, or I mean, there were like plenty of people in Scotland that I knew kind of who'd moved, like Eastern European people, and they'd learned all their English in like Dundee or Edinburgh or Glasgow, and then they'd have like quite a strong Scottish accent, but spoke English very well. But like they fundamentally be like, it'd be quite confusing. And a lot of people do ask me like, where are you from? If I go to other places in Spain, because they think like, okay, your Spanish is okay, and it's like not bad at all, but your accent is fucking mental. Like it's all over the place.
I remember. Sorry, but
no, you follow.
I was just gonna say I remember one Polish dude, Pav, who worked security with me, who learned his English in Glasgow and had the thickest Glaswegian accent you'll find, but like also had a Polish accent, and it was just hilarious to hear him talk.
Yeah, it's always like a bit of a laugh, but in terms of like learning standard Spanish, like here is maybe not the place to do it. Actually, like to give you a good example of this is obviously Spanish movies are dubbed into Spanish usually, even if they're an American movie. And I was watching what was it, Django Unchained recently, and obviously in the words of the white people are dubbed into Castilian Spanish. And I mean, this is quite endemic of like quite a large scale problem in Spain overall, but the kind of like Creole slave language that they had in both Django Unchained and also in 12 Years a Slave, which I watched quite recently, is like the country accent, which is from here. The kind of like, yes, massa, I'll be obliged to go that. That's what they translate into this kind of thing. So like the kind of stereotypical kind of English Creole from the 18th and 19th century Southern America is translated directly into what they call Low Andalus here, which is what they speak here.
So last question. Are you like known about town? This isn't really about Spanish language, but I'm just interested. Are you like known about your town there as like, do people know you? Do people recognize you? I would imagine they do because there's only so many people there and you're the only white guy.
I'm the only sort of, maybe white's the wrong word, but certainly
I was gonna say,
certainly the most pale guy, like by like quite a long way. Like quite a long way. There's really nobody kind of coming close to that. Like when the whitewashed houses are darker than you, there is certainly questions to be asked about your heritage. Nonetheless, I am known as, like, I'm also 1.5 feet taller than most people here, which the sort of Southern Spanish are quite a small, for Europeans, they're actually pretty small. Like there's not many guys over 6 foot, for example, and I'm 6'3", so it's quite people do love a stare. It's but yeah, I think it's like a friendly stare now, as opposed to like, once they realize that I almost have zero chance with their daughters, there's no need to lock their daughters up. So I think like I've just become like this kind of linguistic vending machine that is here to serve the Saxon tongue for the next few months.
Put in a couple coins and you get out a gerund. So what is your expat experience this week, Lou?
It was actually quite I spent the weekend in Malaga, and I actually went to the Costa del Sol for one day to watch the Scotland rugby game, which
my condolences.
Yeah, actually I really deserve the condolences for that one. That was my expat experience was actually it was a tough break. It was a tough break, and I decided that I would spend my expat experience actually doing the complete expat experience of many experienced expats who flock to the Costa del Sol, which was fantastic. Well, no, it's a dump, but it's a very interesting dump in that there is no Spanish people there, which is fascinating, and it is like Britain, but in a place that is very, very hot. So if you do, it's very interesting, like Northern Europeans' attitude to holidays is they don't really want to change anything. They just want to...
it not to be shitty weather.
Yeah, basically. So there was loads of Brits, Dutch, Irish, Germans, a couple of Scandies as well, but like everyone was blonde and nobody was Spanish, and they were all sitting around in their like various pubs on the Costa del Sol, and it is quite weird that you can go to a pub and speak Dutch or English in the south of Spain and people will understand you anywhere.
So speaking about pubs in the south of Spain, I meant to mention this to you before you left, but we are both big Warren Zevon fans. And Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner was written in a bar in southern Spain. Warren Zevon met a mercenary, a former mercenary, in a bar that he owned or ran in southern Spain. I forget where, but I think it's actually near Malaga. And wrote one of the greatest songs of all time, Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner.
Yeah, I mean, like, the man had a knack for writing offbeat topic songs, and that is a fantastic song. And anyone that's listening, I recommend, as soon as this is over, go on YouTube and have a listen. Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner. It's an absolute tune and a half. I'll look it up, and if I can go there, I certainly will.
You absolutely should. You absolutely should.
But yeah, that was me anyway. What about yourself, Roland?
I have had the expat nightmare of immigration this week. It's been an ongoing saga. I believe I've mentioned it, Pat, in past weeks. But basically, what's going on is I haven't been able to get a visa extension yet. So they still have my passport at immigration. They're trying to make me pay 2 extra days overstay. So I'll go back and tell the whole boring story here. So pardon me. Basically, my visa expired at the beginning of this month, so October 4th, which was a Sunday. So I went in the Wednesday before to renew my visa. Went in on Wednesday. The system was down.
Mm-hmm.
The entire system was down. So I went back in on Thursday. The system was down again. I called up on Friday. System was still down. So I went in on Tuesday to process my visa, and they processed it. Okay, come back the next Monday. So I came back the next Monday, and because I overstayed, there's a fine, or I overstayed. Because my visa expired on the 4th and I didn't come in to process it until the 6th, I had 2 days overstay, 2 days of a fine. So they tried to get me to pay this fine, and I said, no, not so fast. Your system was down. I came in before my visa expired, but I couldn't process it because of your system. And they said, oh, sorry, da-da-da-da. So I was there for about 4 hours. And they said, okay, we'll take down your phone number and we'll call you when your visa's ready. Or we'll call you when we sort it out. So they called me on Monday, my birthday. So I went in the morning on Monday. The system wasn't down, but it was too clogged up to do it. So they said, come back at 2. I came back at 2. The system was down again. So then I went back in yesterday, spent 4 hours there yesterday, waiting for them to process it. And because it's been putting the hours in, and because it's been so long since since it was first processed, the system won't accept mine now. So the system's up, but it won't accept my visa payment. So they're calling the capital, they're calling people, but basically I went back in this morning, kind of said, okay, what's going on? They said, okay, give us your phone number and we'll call you when it's ready. So I'm still in a holding pattern over this visa extension, which will be a moot point in a week and a half or 2 weeks when I leave, but I'll need it before then. So I apologize for the monotony of that expat experience, but that is, I believe, a pretty, maybe not typical, but apropos expat experience.
It's absolutely apropos is the word / 2 words that sum it up very well.
Is it free?
I don't know.
Yeah.
On that note, with my linguistic knowledge failing as my brain does, I think we'll wrap up there, and we can add a new feature of the Frying Pan Podcast quiz. Is apropos either a 2-word or 3-word expression? Get in touch. Let us know. We know the answer.
Tweet. Yeah. You can tweet Louis at
Talking Soup Magazine, or via the website talkingsoup.com. Or you can also tweet the answer to Rowan's Twitter, which is at
RLMKANE, or check out my blog, Semawang Stories, SEMAWANG stories.wordpress.com. Good talking to you this week, Lou. Thanks for sharing everything about the Spanish language that you don't know.
Yeah, it's all rock and roll. It's all rock and roll. And who knows? With the careful application of, well, at the very least, kind of like a shapely form of a woman, I may or may not have some mastery of this language.
Let's hope for Packy's daughter.
Yeah, let's hope for Packy's daughter. We'll leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Rowan, always a pleasure. See you soon.
Always a pleasure. See you soon, Lou.
Take care.